and welcome to Tech Explorer. I hope you are doing well. So today in this video, we are going to see what tuples in Python are. So tuples, they are the most common and the simplest collection types in Python. We are going to see how to create these tuples and the various operations that can be performed on these tuples. So before that, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe so that you can get more tutorials in Python and you can master yourself from the basic to the advanced level by enjoying my videos. So let's start. So let's see what is a tuple in Python. Python offers a range of compound data types often referred to as sequences. Tuples are used to store multiple items in a single variable. So there are 4 built-in data types in Python that are used to store the collections of data. We are going to see about the tuples in detail in this video, and the rest 3 are list, set and dictionary. All of them have different qualities and are used for different purposes. I'm going to cover the rest of 3 in my next other tutorial videos. So a tuple is a collection which is ordered and it is unchangeable. Difference between a tuple and a list are that tuples, once they are created, they cannot be changed, unlike the lists. And tuples, second difference is tuples use parentheses, that is rounded brackets, whereas the list use square brackets. Now let's see about the tuple items. So tuple items are ordered. When we say that the tuples are ordered, it means that the items have a defined order and the order will not change. So tuples, they are unchangeable. Tuples are unchangeable, meaning that when the tuples are created, once they are created, we cannot change, add or remove the items from the tuples. And tuples, they allow duplicates. So since the tuples, they are indexed, they can have items with the same value. Now we'll see the data types of the tuple. So a tuple can have multiple items and these items can be of any data type. So this is an example of a tuple where you are having an item as a string, an integer, a boolean and so on. So now if you want to see the type of a tuple, so in Python's perspective, a tuple is defined as an object of the type tuple. So when you create a tuple and you print its type, you will get the type as tuple. There is another way of creating a tuple by using the tuple constructor. So this is an example where you're creating a tuple by using the tuple constructor. So note that here there are 2 rounded brackets. One is for the tuple constructor, another is for the values. So when you print it, you get the items of the tuple. Now tuple length. If you want to see how many elements are there within a tuple, you can use the length method. So here in this example, you are going to get 3 as the value because you are having 3 items. Now let's see how to create a tuple. So a tuple is created by placing all the items or elements inside the rounded brackets, which are separated by the commas. So it can have multiple number of items and they can be of different data types like strings, integers, floats, etc. So let's see how to create an empty tuple. You specify the tuple name and simply provide the rounded brackets with no items in it. So this is going to create an empty tuple for you. So this is an example of tuple of integers. So you give the tuple name and within the rounded brackets you provide the integer values separated by commas. You are going to get a tuple of integers. And this is the example of tuple with mixed data types where you are having your elements as string, as a float, as an integer and so on. So one thing is to be noted that if you want to assign a single value to a tuple, so this can be done without the rounded brackets. But you remember, you have to provide a comma after it. So this is an example where you're providing T1, the tuple, an element A, without the rounded brackets and with the rounded brackets. But in both the cases, we have to provide a comma. So when you print the type, you're going to get the type as tuple. But if you provide the T1, the value without the comma, you're going to get the type as string. So this is an important thing to be noted. Now let's see how to access the elements of a tuple. So tuple items, they are accessed by using index numbers. So this is where you're creating a tuple. And when you're printing the tuple by giving an index number, it is going to fetch the particular item of that index position. So indexing always starts from 0. So when you give the index number as 0, it is going to fetch the very first tuple element. So here in this example of tuple, when you're having the items as apple, banana, cherry, when you're giving the index number as 0, it is going to print the very first element, that is apple for you. Now negative indexing. Negative indexing means just start counting from the end. That means -1 refers to the last element, -2 refers to the second last element, and so on. So here is an example of tuple, and when you print the tuple by providing the index number as -1, it is going to give you the last element of the tuple, that is cherry. Now let's see how to slice the tuple in Python. Here comes the range of indexes. So here in this example, you have created a tuple of integers, and when you're printing the tuple by providing the slicing operator and two numbers, that is the left hand side of the slicing operator is the start index and the right hand side of the slicing operator is the end index. So when you are providing this index numbers, that is starting index and the end index, it is going to fetch you a range of values or a range of items of the tuple. It will start from that item whose index number is 2 to the item whose index number is 4, because the last end index is not considered. It is always the end index -1. So here you are going to get the elements as 3, 4 and 5. So let's see another example where you are providing only the end index and not the starting index. So when in this case you are going to get all the elements from the start to the element whose index number is 3. So you are going to get the elements as 1, 2, 3 and 4. Another example of a tuple where you're providing the start index and not the end index. So here in this case you are going to get the elements whose index number is 2 till the end of the list. So you're going to get the elements as 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So an example of range of negative indexes. So this is a tuple of integer, and when you're providing two negative numbers as the starting index and the end index, what I have told you earlier is negative indexing means just start counting from the back. So -1 is the last element of the tuple, -2 is the second last, -3 is the third last, and so on. So when you're giving the starting index as -4 and the end index as -1, you're going to get the elements. So -4, if you count, it is the fourth last element, that is 4, 5 and 6 elements from -4 to the index element whose index number is -2. So you're going to get the elements as 4, 5 and 6. Now let's see how to update the tuple values. So tuples, as I've told you earlier, they are unchangeable, immutable, meaning that you cannot change, add or remove the items once the tuple is created. But there are certain workarounds. So to change, add or remove a tuple item, you have to convert the tuple to the list and do whatever changes you want and then convert the list back to the tuple. So here is an example. Here the tuple items are apple, banana and cherry. You have converted the tuple to a list by using the list method and passing the tuple name. Now Y has become your list. Now you can simply use the append method and append a list item to the end of the list. And finally, you have to convert this list into the tuple. And when you print this tuple, you are going to get the items as apple, banana, cherry and orange. So similarly, you can remove an item also, but before that you have to convert the tuple to a list, remove the item and then convert the list back to the tuple. Now let's see how to loop through a tuple. So here in this example, you are looping through all the tuple items by using the for loop. That is, for x in tuple 1, you are printing x where you're getting the values as apple, banana and cherry. Another way of doing it is using the index values. So you are using the for loop, and in this case you're using I, that is index value, from 0 to the length of the tuple. It's always will be 0 to length of tuple -1. So you're printing the tuple items using the index value. Another way of looping the tuple is using a while loop. So this is an example of tuple. You're using the while I is less than the length of tuple, you are simply printing the tuple items and then you are incrementing the value of I. So same way you can loop through all the items by using one for loop, second by using while loop, and third by using for loop by using the range of indexes. Now let's see some of the tuple methods. So count, it returns the number of times a specified value occurs in a tuple. Index method will search the tuple for a specified value and it will return the position of where it was found. The length method will return the number of items in a tuple. Max method will return the item from the tuple with max value, and min method will return the item from the tuple whose value is minimum. Compare will compare the elements of two tuples. So this was all about tuples in Python. If you have any doubt or query, do let me know through the commenting below. I will be glad to help you out. If you have enjoyed my video, do like and subscribe my channel for more tutorials in Python. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.